Welcome back to another Ret Paladin video. Verabin here. Today we are going to be talking about something that came up at the AWC, and that is this Prot Paladin legendary that Ret Paladins have been using. And frankly, I'm not sure if this is intended to work with Ret Paladins or not. There are other instances of legendary powers from other specs working, so I'm not sure exactly if it should be working. Let's assume that it should be working though, and we're going to talk a little bit about how this is going to play out, what sort of comp should you consider playing with it, and there's a conduit that impacts it that makes it even stronger. So stick around, let's take a look. Alright, so if you're not familiar with this legendary, it is one that drops from Torghast. It's called Reign of Endless Kings, and when you drop below 20% health, you become infused with the Guardian of Ancient Kings for 4 seconds. Now, the Guardian of Ancient Kings, if you're not familiar with that ability from Prot Paladin, it's basically just a 50% damage reduction wall, and it lasts for 4 seconds. So, the thing about this is that you have to actually be dropped into the range of like 1 to 19% HP. So, if you were at, say, 21% HP and you get one shot, this isn't going to proc. It's not going to prevent you from dying or anything like that, but it is going to give you a pretty juicy damage reduction, and it's going to pop when you need it the most, right? It's going to prevent those kills, and it seems really, really strong. And the thing is that our defensiveness as Ret Paladins is one of our biggest weaknesses, so this is one of those things that makes us a lot tankier, and it gives us this passive kind of thing. It's off the GCD, it's automatic, you don't have to press a button, so it's really, really strong. And because our other legendaries aren't all that strong, even one like Sephu's or even Final Verdict, something like that, these aren't super, super strong legendaries. So to have a defensive legendary that increases our survivability a lot is actually really, really strong. So I think this legendary is definitely going to be one to consider when you're playing against setup-based comps like RMP, or pretty much any comp that has this like kind of tight kill window where they're going to need to kill somebody in a short period of time in a CC, because that's going to allow you to survive a little bit longer. So the other thing that's really cool about the timeliness of this legendary showing up in the AWC is that just this week we're able to get our 4th conduit spot if you are taking the Pelagos Soulbind underneath the Kyrian Covenant. And in the last one, in the last slot, you can choose to either take an Endurance Conduit or you can take a Finesse Conduit. But if you take an Endurance Conduit, you're going to have access to a brand new conduit that's called Royal Decree. And what this conduit does is the first part of the conduit, the one that scales with the level of the conduit, is actually not one that's going to benefit this legendary, so it reduces the cooldown of it, but that doesn't actually apply if you're not using that ability, so it's not going to allow the Reign of Endless Kings legendary to proc more often or anything like that. That would be incredibly overpowered, but it does not do that. So what it does do, though, is after this procs, you get a free Word of Glory, and the cool thing about that is obviously when this procs, it's now going to happen right at the moment where you need a Word of Glory. So you'll be able to pop, you're going to be low HP, you're going to have the Healing Hands talent, and you're going to pop a Word of Glory, and that's going to pop you way back. And it's not going to consume Holy Power, so you don't have to worry about having Holy Power stock. It's an incredibly strong combo. Alright, so I mentioned in the beginning of this video that I wasn't sure if this was an intended way for this legendary to work, like if this was actually supposed to work with other specs. So it is possible that this legendary is going to get nerfed, but I do think that Blizzard so far has been pretty slow to nerf legendaries, especially things like this, because they'd have to refund Soul Ash and things like that. So I think that it's a relatively safe legendary to use. So I'm actually going to go ahead and craft this one next week. But I would encourage you to do so as well if you're interested in PvP and you find yourself dying against certain comps. There's certain comps that can do tons of burst against classes like Ellie Shaman or Fire Mages or other Ret Paladins. So I think if you're fighting a team and they have one of those classes, I think this is definitely a strong legendary to consider. All of our other legendaries are kind of so-so, like they're decent, they're all kind of okay-ish, but I think this is one that's one of those ones that could potentially win the game for you, and that can't really be said from any of the other legendaries for Ret Paladins at this point. Alright, that is all for the video today, guys. I just want to point out this legendary if you hadn't heard about it, kind of talk about it a little bit. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I will see you guys in the next video, and I look forward to seeing you guys over at our stream at twitch.tv/Veribin. Take it easy.
Now pops his Avenging Wrath. Oh, Barug might get dropped. He's caught into a Hammer of Justice. How could he possibly live this? Prot needs to peel, but he cannot. Yeah. That was insane. We need a replay of that Paladin just running in 3 versus 1. There's no way. It's over.
You know what?
Oh,
you know what? I just saw at the end of the game that saved Mystic. Mystic is also using a tank spec legendary.